Hello, friends. Imagine a pamphlet so powerful it could outshout a king. One so spicy it made loyalists choke on their crumpets. One that turned taverns into debating halls and barn-raising farmers into nation-raising patriots. That pamphlet had a name, Commonsense, and it was written by a man who arrived in America with little money, poor health, and a pen sharp enough to slice through monarchy. Thomas Paine, an English corset maker turned radical thinker, sailed to the colonies in 1774 with a letter of introduction from Benjamin Franklin. Because if you're going to change the world, it's good to have Ben in your corner. Paine looked around and saw a nation in limbo, fighting battles, writing petitions, still tiptoeing around the idea of declaring independence. And he said, quite boldly, "This is nonsense. Common sense says we should be free." Then he wrote the pamphlet that punched fear in the crown. Published in January 1776, Common Sense exploded onto the scene like a musket misfire in a quiet church. It sold over 100,000 copies in a few months. Mind you, that's like going viral in a world without Twitter, YouTube, or even decent shoes. But what made it so powerful? First, Paine used plain language. No powdered wig fluff, no Latin. Just straight talk. Kings are not gods. Islands should not rule continents, and liberty is better than servitude, especially when the guy taxing your tea lives across an ocean. He didn't just argue for independence, he roared it. He said monarchy was a joke, and that Americans had a rare chance in history to form a republic ruled by law, not bloodlines. He even included zingers like, "Even brutes do not devour their young, nor savages make war upon their families." Translation? Hey, George III, you're acting worse than a wild animal. People read it aloud in taverns. They debated it on porches and in marketplaces. It was passed from hand to hand like a spark searching for dry grass. Even George Washington was impressed. He had the pamphlet read to his troops, saying it was sound doctrine. And when a man who's known for quiet nods starts quoting you, you know you've stirred something big. Paine didn't invent the idea of independence, but he gave it a voice so loud, no one could pretend not to hear it anymore. With common sense, the middle ground crumbled. The colonies were being pushed, quite uncomfortably, toward a decision: live as rebels or die as loyal subjects. But Paine wasn't done. He wrote more, always with that same Firebrand style, reminding Americans that freedom isn't free, but it's worth the cost. And while all this was shaking the political world, something else was forming, a body of leaders trying to figure out what freedom would actually look like. The Second Continental Congress, still convened in Philadelphia, was about to make a decision that would change everything: creating an army. Because words inspire revolutions, but sooner or later, someone's got to pick up a musket. Next time, we'll meet those delegates again: John, Sam, Ben, and the rest, who sat in a candlelit chamber and wrestled with the reality of war. We'll watch as a Virginia gentleman named George Washington is handed the command and the weight of a nation not yet born. Get ready for the Second Continental Congress and birth of an army, because after talking the talk, it was time to walk the march.